Good afternoon, everybody. This is our Letcher County Water and Sewer District regular meeting, Thursday, March 20th, 2025. Welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order. On the agenda is the approval of the February 27th, 2025 special call meeting minutes. They're in the board packet.
I'll make a motion we approve those minutes.
Thank you, Fred. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Richard. We've moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next on the agenda is the engineer's report from Bell Engineering.
Thank you. Good evening. First one on the list project is our Carving Low Road project. As we talked about before, boring began back last fall in September, and they ran into those large boulders on the road, and the CSX inspector had them stop boring because it's pulling out chunks of rocks. And so we've been waiting. They had us resubmit the permit to do a directional drill. We got that approved, and then we had to wait for the CS inspector's schedule to get back on site. So that finally happened last week. They came back on March the 10th. MGM started drilling. Drilling went well. He drilled the pilot hole through. And then on the 14th, the inspector had to leave again to go back to another project in Ohio. And so that was on Friday. He came back on Tuesday. Mike started back reaming on Tuesday. He wasn't able to work Monday because the inspector wasn't here. They started back reaming, and now he's lost his drill head, is broken off. So he's working on that today, trying to, CSX required them to put trailing rods on. They did that, and actually what got bound, it bound up on that end and broke those, and then now he can't feel his head on the other end. So that's where he is as of today. So hopefully he can get the head out. He's got about 70 feet left in the back ream, and he's got the casing welded, and he's ready to pull through, and it's all at the 3-degree interval, so it should pull through pretty good. He's 25 feet under the track. All that went excellent, but now we're got the head problem. So that's where that is. We met with them today in our progress meeting. The second project, Federal Bureau of Prison Water Line project at Roxana. We had our pre-construction meeting back in December. At that time, the contractor proposed substituting HDP polyethylene pipe for the ductile iron, and we entertained that. They offered a credit of $111,552 to do that. We reviewed that along with AML, and it was decided that credit was not sufficient enough to make that change. So we advised the contractor to proceed as he bid the job with ductile iron. AML contacted us last week and asked us to go back and with the contractor again to see if they would want to do the poly and offer maybe a lesser credit. Initially they said they couldn't go any lower than 111. So now they came back with a credit of $259,000 to do poly. And AML has reviewed that, and they say that's still not a sufficient amount. The price per foot on the ductile was, I think, $95 a foot, and they offered to lay the poly at $85. It's a very difficult job with a lot of rock on it. So ended up, we told them that the credit again wasn't sufficient. The contractor's going ahead, he's ordering the ductile iron pipe. We met with him here today. We are still probably looking at some spots. There's some very sharp curves on that road. Maybe lay poly around the curves to keep from having so many fittings. So we're reviewing that, but he's got material ordered. He's got a site, fence site out there. He's going to start taking delivery on materials later this week. So we sent a notice to proceed a couple weeks ago that starts his time April 1st, and he's probably actually going to start working prior to that. He may start working actually next week. starting on some of the directional drills along the project. The third project's the Millstone Phase 2. Those lines have been laid out. We've done a cost estimate. The hydraulics have been rerun. We've completed taking our pictures and measurements for our KYTC permit. We came up last week and did a constructability review on the entire project. We surveyed in all the KYTC bore crossings on the job. We've got all those done. We're drafting those now. Once we get the profiles done, we'll get the KYTC encroachment permit application submitted. And we're still working to finalize the RD checklist on that project as well. On the Red Star Turkey Creek, lines are laid out, opinion and probable costs have been prepared. We've obtained pictures and measurements for KYTC on that project also. We also reran the hydraulics, and permit applications are being finalized. And Steve also had a meeting this morning with AML on that project as well. On number 5, Logging Hollow and zone meter replacement, those lines have been laid out. We're finalizing the master meter locations. We've also completed the hydraulics. When we were up here last week, we also did a survey on the bore crossing there on Kentucky 15. We've also broken that into 2 parts with the funding. As we mentioned last month, one part is utilizing the Cleaner Water Funds, which contains equipment, the service purchase a truck, backhoe and trailer, and telemetry for the master meters, and also the property purchase for the water treatment plant. The other portion utilizing the Appalachian Regional Commission funding, which contains actual Logie Hollow extension, master meters, and the Pratt Fork pump station rehabilitation. The 6th project is Cumberland River Phase 1. Plans have been revised based on the rerun of the hydraulics, and those can now be resubmitted to Division of Water. Bell will also insert pictures and measurements for the KYTC encroachment permit. And then the project then is pending funding availability. Cumberland River Phase 4, we will also be doing the pictures for KYTC on that, getting those inserted into the plans. The Division of Water submittal has been prepared. The pending probable cost has been reviewed. After we receive Division of Water and KYTC approval, the project may be bid pending availability of funding. The Kentucky 7 relocation at Red Star, MGM is currently working on that project now. We met with them today in our progress meeting. He's now completed the other bore under Kentucky 7, and as soon as he finishes the bore at Carbon Glow, he's going to move down and do the bore on the directional drill on that project as well. He should have Carbon Glow and Kentucky 7 done by mid-April. That's what we're hoping for. That's the plan. Millstone Center Sewer, again, that's the one we had an agreed order on between the district and Division of Water. As part of that agreement, a corrective action plan was prepared and submitted to DOW. This far, there's been no response on that. The septic system layout is complete, and the health department application has been prepared for the district's review. The prison water treatment plant, the plant specs for the wastewater treatment plant were partially completed back in 2018-19, and before design of the project was halted by abandoned mine lands. Copies of those plan specifications as they stood when the work was halted was for the AML at that time, and we're continuing to hold those on design, awaiting any further instructions. And 11 is just a list of the invoices for the month. First one's the construction utility relocation on Kentucky 7 for MGM contracting. The other one's the Bell Engineering for the Millstone Project Phase 2. The next one's for Bell Engineering for the Red Star Phase 3. The engineering for Logie Hollow, the zone meter project. And then the next one's the utility relocation on the engineering side for the bridge on Kentucky 7 at Red Star. And then the last one's engineering for the Letcher County Water and Sewer District for the 2022 flood repair assistance. Any questions? And Fred, I'll get you an update on Carbon Glow.
Okay, that'll be good.
I'll send that to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is the approval of the pay request for Bell Engineering construction projects. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Sam.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Fred. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Now we'll have an engineer's report from GRW.
I will be brief, I promise you. Everybody should have a copy of this. So we got 4 projects with you. The first one's the water treatment plant. Let's come back to that one. The next one is the flood meter replacement. Let's come back to that one. The next one's the Mountain Comp Healthcare. There's no change in that project. ARC is reviewing the funding app we sent in, and we've got preliminary laid out. As soon as funding is released on it, we'll get that into the visual order and get it submitted. It's a pretty straightforward project. The last one's the flood repair mitigation phase 1. That's the CDBG disaster relief money the governor made an announcement for a month and a half ago or something. That funding's there. I guess we just need to check with
We're in the process of doing the environmental.
doing the environmental, okay, and you guys will be administering it. So once all that's clear, then we'll get to moving forward on that project. That's replacing 1410, a couple of pump stations, and some additional zone meters. So it's pretty straightforward. Back to the flood damage meter replacement project. That's the RD disaster money that RCAP helped you all acquire or procure, whatever the word is for it. That's to replace meters that were damaged in the system during the 2022 flood. That funding is in place. You guys were awarded it. Mark, I'm going to leave these with you. We are at the 60% design on those. I'll email you the specs. They're pretty straightforward. Just take a look and we'll talk next week. And once you give me the blessing on that, we'll turn these into 90% documents real quick. Division of Water does not have to see these. We've already got a waiver and a letter from them saying they don't need to do a permit review. Same with the KYTC, they don't need to do a permit review. So once we get, you and I are on the same sheet of music about this, we'll be ready to send it to RD, let them review it, and then put it on the street and bid it. So this project is about wrapped up from a design standpoint. And all that is replacing your census meters with camp struck meters, I believe. The setter and the jar and all that are the same. They're just going to literally pull the meter out, stick the new camp strap in. I think Mark talked about doing an owner purchase, which will give you some savings as far as sales tax and all that on the, and we'll run that by RD beforehand. So that project's, you know, I would think we could let it, I don't know, the next 60 days, something like that. The last one's the water plant. This is the one we met on. Some members of the board were here last week. We met with you. So, Jerry, I got your plat, and we did what's called cutting out paper dolls. This is going to sound silly, but I sized the facilities, your flock basins, your sed basins, your rapid sand filters, clear well, and your sludge handling facilities, and then the office to see if it'll fit on that piece of property. In the old days before CAD, we'd actually draw them out and move them around and see if they fit. And we've kind of done that. This is rudimentary, but they are sized correctly. And we sized them for 1 million expandable to 2. Okay, it's tight. It's really tight. But I'm going to leave this with Mark, and then you and I can talk about it at a later date. We did go look at the other property. It's a little far out of the way. So if we can make this one work, it would be better. But after Mark and I talk about it, I'll get you an update on that. I did talk to Division of Water. We have a meeting on Wednesday with the drinking water branch at 9 o'clock. It's going to be a hybrid meeting. We'll do it in Frankfurt, but I sent Mark a Zoom link. Any of you all that want to get on there and meet, we're just going to go over the project and get their input from it. I also talked to Water Withdrawal before I left to come down here, and we're going to set up a meeting. I'm going to try to get him back to back, get it on Wednesday. He seemed to have availability next week, and like we talked about in our meeting Wednesday, that's going to be your limiting factor on the size of the plant. I also talked to the Corps, and they don't know who's got jurisdiction or who makes the decisions, but I did talk to the Chief Operating Officer in Louisville. his name is on there, I believe, on anyway, he is in the process, Waylon Humphrey is his name. He is in the process of getting his ducks in a row, and then he's going to reach out to me, and I'll set up a meeting with the Corps. Lisa has 2 EPA documents. I got to finish this work plan and
Budget justification.
budget justification work plan and the K-Tex, categorical exclusion, and she and I will work through that. So that project's what we talked about in our meeting. We're getting those guys lined up and gals lined up to give us some answers so we can work on that. And that's really all I've got. As far as invoicing, we invoiced you for the PER on the meter replacement project through RD. We met, let me back up, we met with RD, last month? And they indicated that they didn't want to start drawing that money until it goes to construction. So we're going to hold the invoices because you're not going to get any engineering invoices till you get contractor invoices. So it's all right. So I do have to generate an invoice for the 60% design, just so it moves it from our accounting, from our active to aged accounts or whatever. I don't know how it works. But anyway, so you'll get an invoice from me for that, or from GRW for that, but it's just hold it until we go to construction. And that's all I got. Any questions?
So does that mean we do not have any invoices to pay?
No, you don't. You've already approved the PER when funding's available. The funding's available, but the funding agency didn't want us to invoice them until it goes to construction. So, yeah, no, I don't need motions from you all. And Mark, I'll leave these here for you guys.
Okay.
And Jerry, we used your plat to cut out the paper dolls and signed it, or size everything. It worked good. Appreciate that.
Well, it's handed down to me. Crawford did it and Ted Cook. So, yeah, that's not actually mine, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Work with plant go.
Thank you so much. Next on our agenda is the payment of the monthly bills of the district. And they're listed in the packet as well. Mark, is there something in particular that you'd like to point out?
Yes, you got a lot of pass-through items on there that was funding from other entities, and that makes everything appear higher than normal, but also our water bills to Knott County was extremely high, if not the highest they've been, but we had 39 sites damaged in this last disaster, and we're utilizing ER Assist again, and they've already started collecting the information. They'll be getting submitted here in the next few days. So hopefully a lot of what we had to spend out revenue we had right now, we'll get it all back like we did in 22. You know, we won't lose nothing. It's just it's like loan money. But other than that, everything's fairly normal.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion that we pay the monthly bills?
I'll make that one.
Thank you, Jerry.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Richard. The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next on the agenda is board member comments, discussion.
It must be done. Oh, that's right back up. One other thing too, I'm sorry, is we gotta open up another bank account for this last disaster. And she's got all the information to where everybody don't have to go there and sign right here. And that's something we need to do while we're at this meeting. And like I said, it's just for this last, what disaster was it? 4860. It's the disaster 4860 is to separate the money from one disaster to the other.
Okay, but we don't need a motion for that, do we?
I think so. I probably do.
Okay. Okay. We've heard that we need a motion for opening another bank account for this last disaster.
Yes.
I would entertain a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Sam.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Fred. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other board member comments or discussion? Public comments from the floor.
Go ahead and turn.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Richard.
Get out of here.
A second?
I'll say.
Thanks, Jerry. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.